traveling on, and I've been traveling oh so long. I've been traveling. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, here for you, we are going to review the new Mumford Sons album, Babel. Now, Mumford Sons came out, debut album, Sigh No More in 2009, late 2009. We reviewed it, actually, in Velocities in Music's infancy. We were very young back then. We didn't have a clue what we were doing.
And it was also before Sigh No More came a huge international hit and had songs on the radio.
Inner hipster, the inner hipster in both of these red blue.
Well, okay, no. Now, you bring up the hipster thing. I'm not saying that just because I want to be like, oh, hey, man, I listened to it way before. No, because we actually weren't too keen on it. We did like it. Yeah. But I think we gave it like the upper 70s. We weren't really blown away.
Well, what we said about it was that, you know, they do a great job presenting this really nice sound. And then they do a great job of developing that sound throughout the tracks. But the problem is we felt on Sigh No More that there was only like 3 tracks there. And, and it was just different derivations of that 3 different tracks type throughout a 12-track album or whatever tracks it was around 12. And you know, and we said then, you know, what's going to happen with this band? What are they going to do from here? Because it sounded like they had the exact model of bands that get big live. Mumford Sons has that, you know, quirky kind of folky sound with a lot of emotion driving their sound. And you know, when you have banjos and drums and acoustic guitar and a vocalist who is just fantastic. He has a fantastic voice when he really starts getting intense. I mean, it carries the intensity of all the song, and it's just a really unique formula. So live, you would imagine that these songs would start soft and then get louder and louder and louder and louder. Those are going to have a really big effect live. And that's how bands like this get started. They get a good live following, then they get their first record deal and record all their live songs, right? That's what the Mumford Sons did, and what do you know? It sounds like live music. And guess what? It was a decent album. Now, we speculated, you know, what are they going to do? Are they going to rehash all the same sound over and over again? Or are they going to develop their sound and get a more studio-driven sound? Something that took a little bit more thought to develop than just big climax. Well, I will officially say this, the answer was no. They're going to stick with that model, and literally every single song but one on this CD starts softly with just acoustic guitar and then just builds the entire time. Sometimes it builds high, sometimes it builds medium or mezzo forte, but you know, it's pretty much always just building somewhere. The exception is track 8, Reminder. Sorry, I thought it said Renegade. I'm like, it's not Renegade. It is kind of a renegade though, because it's soft throughout. It's a ballad, and it's coincidentally it's both of our track picks.
And because it actually, to me, packs more of a punch because it's able to accomplish something in less time. And to me, that actually points out a major flaw with this record. Is that they felt like they had to have these sprawling tracks to accomplish anything. If they didn't think that, they probably wouldn't have done that, because that's exactly what they did here. And when most of these tracks cover 4 to 5+ minutes, because they're taking so much time to build things, those climaxes, they just wear on you. And they don't have as much of an impact. So when you get to track 8, Reminder, and it's only 2 minutes, and it stays soft, and it sticks with you and resonates with you and makes more of an impact than the other songs that are 2 to 2.5 times longer, then that just shows that there are problems here.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that you guys have to understand, because this album is getting a lot of attention, a lot of people out there, you know, people that don't typically listen to stuff that's not on the radio are into this album, and there's nothing wrong with that. First of all, I want to say I'm glad that a band like Mumford Sons can get super popular, and you know, people who don't really think as hard as you know, regular Velocities and Music viewers, or Tom and I, who, you know, do this, you know, as a hobby. You know, I'm glad that other people are finding music of this quality, because this is actually, you know, if you think about the instrumental composition, you know, the pluses in the production, it's just the general difference of what your stupid radio-friendly tracks, you know, in the club, you know, dance tracks that you hear all over the pop radio stations right now, the corporate crap we complain about all the time. This is so much of an improvement. So that aside, I want to just say that when you really break it down to its components, if you're loving this album, first of all, great. Love the music you love, and there's nothing that anyone can say that should change your opinion. So definitely not, you know, in any way judging. Our point is just that you cannot tell me that these songs don't follow a same structure over and over again, and that kind of leads you to think that there was just one idea and it's built into a formula and they're just delivering that formula over and over and over and over again. To me, when the only thing that changes song to song is the lyrics, that's an issue that says we have a significant deficiency when it comes to songwriting. There's either we're not very good, or there's other factors like a record company at play forcing us to make an album like this. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happens, but I'm just saying the product of what we receive here is just one track rethought of 11 different times on an album, and it is just, to me, you cannot. I like the first couple tracks, but then I'm bored after that. And I just don't think that they bring a lot to the table on this one.
Yeah, I get bored pretty quickly with this one. And you were talking about the radio sound, how popular these guys have gotten, and it's kind of an interesting thing. I'm all for bands getting bigger if they're going to get people into a new sound. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of listeners are stopping here.
Yeah.
Now, I think Mumford & Sons is a good band. They have a lot of potential. I do think that Sigh No More was significantly better than this album, but still, they're a good band. In the scheme of things, though, in the scheme of this genre, I think they're mediocre. I think they're maybe even kind of on the lower end of that. I think there's a lot more out there that have a lot of elements that you'd get from here that people aren't really bothering to check out. And because of that, they falsely believe that this is really unique when I don't feel like it quite is.
Right.
I actually, a coworker of ours, I was having this conversation with, and I said, Mumford & Sons is pretty good, but there's so much more out there that has similar elements to it that people just aren't checking out. And he said, well, who? Challenged me to stick to my word. I came up with a 3-page list of artists that he should check out, and he has been, and he liked them.
One off the top of my head is Frightened Rabbit.
Yeah.
I mean, that band is... Go listen to them. It's a very similar sound, but they do a lot more with it. It's just a really interesting take on it. And I'd say, we keep saying that we liked Sigh No More better, and I think another thing that we need to point out is the fact that this just sounds so much more forced. Sigh No More, there was some true emotion there. You really could relate with it. Whereas here, it's just not quite as relatable. So, and I just don't feel like the emotion is as honest and as believable. And that's something, believability, authenticity, these are attributes of albums that we're constantly looking for, and I just don't hear it here. So it kind of takes my score down a little bit. I cannot really get behind this album whatsoever, Tom. I'm going 59 on it.
I'm going 59 as well.
All right. Cusp of having issues, but really, it's not even having issues. There are significant problems with this album. It's on a Velocities and music scale of all the albums we listen to, just not a good album. If you've already gotten into Mumford & Sons and already love this album, like I said before, by all means, keep loving it, keep listening to it. I'm happy that there's music out there that you like. Use it to get into other stuff that you like too. Don't just stop here once you're bored with this album. And if you want recommendations, reach out to Tom or I. We'd be glad to give you recommendations. But remember, music critique is just entertainment. It's nothing more. These are just our opinions. And with that said, please leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, join our conversation, and become part of what Velocities and Music is trying to do. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Hold me fast, 'cause I'm a